Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to implement DHCP version 4. This is the addressing table of this activity. These are the objectives. Part 1. Configure a router as a DHCP server. Part 2. Configure DHCP relay. Part 3. Configure a router as a DHCP client. As the network technician for your company, you are tasked with configuring a Cisco router as a DHCP server to provide dynamic allocation of addresses to clients on the network. You are also required to configure the edge router as a DHCP client so that it receives as IP addresses from the ISP network. Since the server is centralized, you will need to configure the two LANs routers to relay DHCP traffic between the LANs and the router that is serving as the DHCP server. And now let's start. Part 1. Configure router as the DHCP server. Step 1. Configure the excluded IPv4 addresses. Configure R2 to exclude the first 10 addresses from the R1 and R3 LANs. All other addresses should be available in the DHCP address pool. And then open the R2 CLI to start the configuration. Just follow what's in the video. And then the step 2, create a DHCP pool on R2 for the R1 LAN. A. Create a DHCP pool name R1 LAN. The pool name must match this value in order for you to get credit for your configuration. B. Configure the DHCP pool to include the network address, default gateway, and the IP address of the DNS server. Step 2, and now let's move on to step 3. Create a DHCP pool on R2 for the R3 LAN. A. Create a DHCP pool named R3 LAN. This is case sensitive. B. Configure the DHCP pool to include the network address, default gateway, and the IP address of the DNS server. Open your CLI on R2 and start configuring step 3. Just follow what's in the video. That ends the part 1. Step 3. Now let's move on to part 2. Configure DHCP relay. Step 1. Configure R1 and R3 as the DHCP relay in your R1 CLI and start configuring. Just follow what's in the And now let's go step 2. Set PC1 and PC2 to receive IP addressing information from DHCP. Open your PC1 and then set it to DHCP and also the PC2. And then let's go to the last part 3, configure R2 as a DHCP client. Step 1, configure the gigabit internet /1 interface on R2 to receive IP addressing from DHCP. Again, open your R2 CLI and then follow what's on the video. That makes the arrow interface activated. That's clearly step 2 of our part 3. And that makes our activity 100%. Now let's start pinging if it's successful. As you can see, it was all successful. That's all, and thank you for watching.